Mates, the plot of this novel is so intense. The male protagonist, Wolf, in order to protect his wife and daughter, dares to go against his entire group. In the face of life and death, he entrusts his daughter to his former friend, hoping she can live a normal life. However, Wolf is brutally poisoned and, in his last moments, still worries about his daughter's future. What kind of love and helplessness lies behind this? And will the daughter fulfill her father's last wish? Chapter 50. I raced through the dense lupine forest, my mate's protests falling on deaf ears as her small fists drummed against my back. The urgency of our situation weighed heavily on me, my usual confidence wavering in the face of this unprecedented threat. Phoenix, what the hell are we going to do? Alice's voice echoed through our shared mate link, his wolf form darting between the trees with practiced agility. I can practically feel that fucking thing lurking behind us as we speak. Cassian's voice joined the mental chorus, his tone laced with concern. The twins can't hold them off forever. Phoenix, Exo called in our packs and the air guards, but they're at least 20 minutes out. Damn it all. By the time reinforcements arrived, we could all be nothing more than scattered remains on the forest floor. For the first time in my life, indecision paralyzed me. Every choice seemed to teeter on the razor's edge between survival and annihilation. It was Nova's soft voice that pierced through my mental fog, her words causing my throat to constrict painfully. Let me go, let me go. Nick, she pleaded. Let me go now, or we're all going to die. Never, I growled, tightening my grip on her lithe form. I'll never let you go. It won't be forever. Phoenix, she reasoned, her tone maddeningly calm. It'll just be until the others arrive. We can't kill this thing alone, so our best bet is to distract it. A blur at the forest's edge caught my attention, matching our pace with eerie precision. Cassian and Atlas closed ranks, flanking us protectively as they guarded Nova from both sides. I can't let you go. Nova, Nova, I said, my voice taking on a frantic edge as the blur drew nearer. Not when I just found you. Phoenix. Atlas's warning cry rang out as he narrowly avoided the creature's slashing claws. Get her out of here. You're left. Atlas. Cassian snarled, darting across my path to aid our friend. Shit. HES faster than the last one. And fucking smarter too. Atlas panted, his wolf form tensed for action. HES falling back. HES altering his attack strategy. The forest seemed to close in around us, the very air thick with tension as we raced against time and an enemy that grew more formidable with each passing second. Before I had a chance to respond, an agonizing spasm rocked through my body so hard that I seized and fell mid-run, causing Nova to soar through the air and hit a tree, her head banging against the tree so hard that it knocked her unconscious. 3 roars sounded out as our wolves watched their mate passed out on the dirt floor. Stubborn me.丨amused robotic voice sounded from above us. You should have listened to the princess when you had the chance. I looked up to see a masked figure, with his head cocked to the side, gazing down at us from his perch on a tree branch. Another spasm rocked my body, and as hard as I tried, I could help that darkness that overtook me, but not before one thought occurred to me at the stranger's words. You should have listened to the princess when you had the chance, Nova. The excruciating pain radiating from my shoulder was what awoke me from my unconscious state. I tapered down the scream that wanted to rip free from my throat as the monster's jaw locked down even tighter on my shoulder, dragging me along the forest floor, its hot, stale breath washing over me as a low warning growl ripped through its throat. I blinked through the tears, gazed up at the stars, noting for the first time that the night has fallen. My second thought was, where were the guys? Because, as much we fought and as much as we annoyed or talked shit to each other, I knew without a doubt that if all 3 men were still alive, they'd be doing everything in their power to kill the monster currently dragging me through the forest. Which leads me to believe one of 2 things. The monster incapacitated the guys to the brink of death or killed them before it took me. My heart stopped at the thought of all 3 of them just gone. I was ripped out of my thoughts when I winced, my leg scraping against a particularly sharp stone. the warm trickle of blood flowing down my leg. The creature halted to a sudden stop, its mouth loosening from my shoulder momentarily. It unhinged its jaws from my arm but kept a caroming paw on the center of my chest, making it impossible for me to move, let alone try to escape. I watched in fascination and horror as the creature tilted its preserved head upwards to sniff the air. A second later, I stiffened as the creature released me and tilted its head downwards, nearly pressing its whole face into my neck. Shit. This was how it'd die, with a monster ripping open my throat and tearing my head from my body. Its large head traveled down the sides of my body until it reached the open wound on my leg. It inhaled deeply, once, then twice before letting out a heartbreaking howl. Chapter 51. The Dark Princeling paced his war room as he watched the scene playing out before him, his most trusted advisors and those he called friends watching his every move in apprehensive awareness. To state he was angry would be a complete understatement. He was absolutely enraged, bordering on the verge of complete crazed if the cursed muttering was an indication to go by. Or Ella, the Underrealm seer, was the first brave soul to speak the thoughts that the entire collective room was thinking. No, Lonnie and Wolf warned you that something like this might happen, the seer said softly, even foreshadowed that this will happen when she arrived at the academy all those months ago. The Dark Prince, for the first time in his long life, snapped at his seer in half. Sister, hearing about something and witness it for your own eyes, two very fucking different things. Or Ella and I made down a fucking hill to nature's nowhere and I can't do a single fucking thing about it until the summer solstice begins and that stupid fucking dome weakens. Helios. The seer blinked at her king and brother, taking a small step backwards. This is what the fates. Fuck the fates, the Dark Prince snarled, banging his fist on the table in front of him and making all of his friends jump back in surprise, their faces betraying their complete and utter shock at his unadulterated outburst. They mates are the ones being dragged down the ravine by their dead father's wolf. Everyone in the room sucked in a sharp breath, seemingly flabbergasted at the revelation. Well, everyone except the seer seemed shocked at the news the Dark Prince just revealed. That creature is Last Lupine. The prince's closest friend asked, how do you know? And how is that possible? He has been dead for 19 years. How do you think? The prince stated. His tone defeated. He resurrected his project the moment he convinced the council to cast us aside. How the seer's mate reared his head back in shock. He would have to access to all 4 seasons. His sons each married a princess from the summer and spring realm. The Dark Prince stated. I have no doubt in my mind that they're under his spell too, freely giving away their powers to his cause without even realizing. But Nolan is dead, someone said, besides her father. There's no one left in the Winterlands, and I doubt that Hed willingly give more of his power away to EIH. Not when he already gives so much to the Equinox already. Nolan is gone, but N.S. bastard child. Tisn't the prince dropped yet another explosive revelation? It seems like she's the reason my queen was found in the first place. Hell. The Dark Prince once again turned his attention to the scene before him. His wounded queen being dragged across the woodland's floors by her deceased father just mere feet above where he currently stood. Her agony mirroring his own as if they were already in perfect sync with each other like mates tended to be, despite only meeting once in their dreams. The bastard fox queen used the lupine air to hunt down his own flesh and blood, the Dark Prince whispered, because he was the only one in the entire realms who could find her. That's why I could suddenly see her in my visions, the seer blanched, and that's why they've kept him alive so long. Wolf, the human, died 19 years ago, the prince said, but his wolf, the animal part of him, refused to die until it was reunited with his pup again. Chapter 50. To Cassian, wake up, Wolf. A strange voice whispered in my unconscious mind, our mate is in danger. Those words had my eyes snapping open as a much-needed breath made its way through my body. I blinked. Then I blinked again. Unlike where I was expecting to be. In the hands of the enemy. I was safe. In one of the panic rooms. Back at the academy. It was the like-us panic room, considering the different room orientation. But it was a panic room based on the familiar walls. Phew. A familiar hand gently patted my cheek. It's okay, baby boy. You're safe now, Mom. Just father's voice rang from somewhere in the room we're protected from the chaos. What? I pushed myself up into a sitting position. We need to help the others. It's too late for them. Mom patted my cheek again. It's almost done. What's almost done? I asked in frustration. What are you talking about? And how the hell did I get here? What do you remember? Mom asked calmly. Her face unusually blank as she stared intensely at me. My eyes swept past my mom and locked gazes with my dad, who was intently listening in on our conversation and awaiting my answer. My hackles suddenly rose, my wolf fidgeting and snarling in a way HES never done before in the presence of my parents. I asked you a question first. My father sighed as he stood up, holding a hand out to my mother, who looked at me in equal parts regret and disappointment. All you had to do was stay away from her, my mother stated in a tone I've only ever heard her use with her students and lab personnel. All you had to do was duty as our heir. Stay in line and focus on your studies. My head snapped back at her words, the next sentence out of my father's mouth confirming my wolf's suspicions. But I supposed we should have expected it. My father sang aside. It's in our nature as natural hunters and red-blooded men to fancy a pretty girl. From the stories they told us, her mother was very beautiful, my mother commented nonchalantly as she fiddled with something on the wall. It's a shame that she'll die the same way her mother did. Before I could respond, familiar tempered glass slammed down around me. What the fuck? I snarled, slamming my fist down on the reinforced walls. What the fuck did you do? We did what we needed to do in order for our pack to survive. Mother caressed the glass as if she was caressing my face to have a lupine mate with one of them. She trailed off, shaking her head. You fucking traitors. I spat at them, banging on the glass. You turned on one of your own. Sacrifices needed to be made, my father stated, genuine sorrow lacing his tone. We've all made sacrifices for the greater good, for the survival of the packs and the people we care for. So you went after a fellow heir and his pregnant wife. I shouted. You murder your so-called friend in cold blood. You took away someone's parents. How could murder benefit our packs? Wolf would have understood, they repeated like fucking brainwashed cult members. Sacrifices needed to be made for the greater good. What fucking sacrifice did you make? I snarled at them because it seems like the only one who was forced to make sacrifices was Wolf Lupine. All of us made fucking sacrifices. Father roared at me. Every single one of us sacrificed something in order to be where we're at today. My mother's expression turned despondent. Your brother. Brother. My head reared back in yet more shock. What the hell are you talking about? I don't have a brother. You had a brother, my father clarified. A twin, actually. What? My jaw slacked at the bomb they just detonated. What are you talking about? Statistically, he was going to make it, mother stated like a robot. You were the first twin, the stronger of the two. And he was sick. Even if he did make it, his life would be full of deficiencies. HED never live up to his full potential and contribute to the pack the way he needed to as a son of ours. I stared at them for a full minute, my poor brain trying to comprehend what the hell I'm hearing, because the people in front of me were not my parents. They were not the people I remember coming home from long research trips and showering me with so much love. It never questioned or doubt their intentions for both me and our pack. Hell. I've even defended them against one of my best friends who clearly saw something wrong with them I didn't. These people in front of me were cold-hearted strangers who had absolutely no rational thoughts left in their brain, which was ironic considering they were the two most renowned scientists in the supernatural world. What did the others give up? I croaked. Did they murder their children too? Don't think about it as murder. Mother waved my words away. Think about it as natural selection. My eyes widened. The lupine girl was the only one who lost a parent, Dad stated. The new Lobo Luna was forced to choose between her sister and nephew. My eyes widened in shock. Not only because of the news of Atlas' stepmom and dad being involved in this clusterfuck, but the fact that this whole heinous team has been going on for so long. You're insane, I whispered. You're all insane. Why would you do this? How could you do this to your fellow wolves and loved ones? We did it for you, baby boy, Mom spoke softly. Like she often did when I was a child. We did it to secure your position as our heir. What are you talking about? I snarled. Don't blame this mess on me. Don't try to ease the guilt of murdering your fellow heir and friend by saying you did all of this for me. That's what you don't understand, son. My dad shook his head. Our positions were never ours to begin with. Of course they were. I said we were a part of the first pacts created. The Lycos position was secured the moment the gods blessed us. That's where you're wrong, Cassie and my parents said, shaking their heads. That's what the heirs and pentas before us wanted everyone to believe. It wasn't until your father became an heir, as well as the others, did they learn the truth, my mom said, and then he shared that truth with me. What truth? The gods never created us, Dad said grimly. The gods we worship, the gods we prayed to, were nothing but a myth created by the original heirs in order to conceal our origins. And we think it's about time that you knew the truth, to my mother said. We think it's time that you knew the truth about who created the supernatural world. Chapter 53. Nix, wake up. Small hands tapped my face as a familiar voice filled my ears. Phoenix James. Please wake up. I need you to wake up. My small whimper at the end of my sister's sentence managed to clear the fog that was currently clouding my brain. Sphinx. My croak turned into a hiss as a slice of pain pierced through the skin of my neck for some unknown reason. What the hell are you doing here? I tried to move my limbs only to see that they were bound to the floor. Thick metal chains wrapped around both my wrists and each ankle. Don't move too much. My sister's dirty face swam into view, gently touching my face and wincing as the skin underneath the collar began to hiss. I eyed as hard as I could to get them off, but they just won't budge. My eyes snapped down to her charred hands, fresh blood still oozing from her unhealed wounds. Why would you do that? I barked at her. Don't touch anything down here. My sister narrowed her eyes at me, and in that moment, she looked identical to our mother, right down to the white, blonde hair and freckles spanning across her cheeks. I can't sit here and let my brother suffer, she huffed, shooting me a dirty look. I'm not as useless everyone thinks. I snorted and then groaned as the collar burned me once again. The day someone thinks that Sphinx Fenrir is useless is the day that hell freezes over. I wheezed out, and frankly, I'm fucking upset that you see yourself that way. She looked away, her jaw trembling slightly. How do you get here, INX? I asked, redirecting the conversation as softly as I could given the fucking burning on my neck. And where is here? 1 minute I was in my dorm sleeping, and the next, a gigantic portal was ripped open in the middle of my room, she growled, and then I was being hauled into said portal by a vamp. A witch, and a stupid wolf from my class. What? My head reared back in shock. More hissing sounded out as the skin at my nape made contact with the metal. That's impossible. Witches don't work with those from other districts. Not to mention that vampires hate us. The clanking of chains and the sounds of footsteps coming from the darkness that had my hackles raising. I told you it'd get her involved if you failed me a cold. Familiar voice declared from behind me, and now your poor sister has to suffer from your Sphinx screamed and tugged on my chains as hard as she could, urging me to move. I barely dodged in time, turning to see a large paw land down on the concrete underneath when I was previously sitting. What the fuck is that? She yelled, yanking on my chains again as the monster attacked once more. I tugged at my chains, screaming in frustration as they refused to budge. TR halted the monsters with one simply foreign and unknown word. How in the hell he controlled that fucking creature was lost on me. This was you from the start. Wasn't it? I growled at him. This has all been your doing right from the start. His smirk, so much like my own, infuriated me with rage that I've never felt before. Why the fuck would you have me shadow Nova if you were planning to kill her from the start? What was the purpose of that entire ruse? But why waste? TR shrugged, stopping just a few feet short of my sister and I, and moving quicker than I thought possible, gripped both my sister and my faces tightly in his hands. I wanted to kill her the moment she was located, but the others had different ideas, he sneered, so we settled on sending an execution team to her house instead. Unfortunately, we had to adjust our plans when you idiots managed to kill those incompetent nitwits. My sister's small gasp barely registered behind the roaring blood in my ears at his words. The others. Of course he wasn't alone in this. I just didn't expect. My best friend's parents, people I looked up to since my mother died, to be involved with him too. The others. You didn't think I was alone in this, did you? His grip tight, and no one from our world wants the Lupine girl alive. Why not? I glared at him. Why is everyone afraid of one little teenager? He ignored my question, instead turning towards my sister with a fake sad frown. You know, all of this could have been avoided if Wolf Lupine ever got your mother involved. He let go of my sister's face, pushing a lock of blonde hair behind her ear. It's because of him that your mother is no longer with us. What are you talking about? My head reared back in shock. She's gone because you killed her. You murdered her in cold blood after Sphinx was born. My sister flinched at my words, finally finding out the truth of our mother's death. She's gone because she got involved with something she should have never been involved with in the first place. Dark end, and turned even uglier. She should have killed that brat the moment a dying wolf put her in your mother's arms. My sister's choked gasp verified the words that came out our father's mouth. You killed our mother. I swallowed down my rage. You killed our mother because she saved her friend's daughter, the last heir to a fellow pack leader. Sacrifices needed to be made, he said, and it was either between the traitor I called a wife or the spare newborn daughter I had no use for. Chapter 50 for Nyx. Your mother made her choice, Tier said, his emotionals' voice angering me even further, and unfortunately, she didn't love you both enough to choose. My sister's muted sob had me seething more than I already was. You're a filthy fucking liar, I snarled at him. You killed her because you knew she'd always be the truth and we're heir end as long as she lived. The elders would always take her word before your own. Her betrayal killed her. You killed her. I roared. There's no denying the truth. You killed the one person that loved you more than anything. She never fucking loved me. He reeled forward and dug his claws into my abdomen, lifting them upwards and twisting them in such a way that I physically felt my liver shredding inside of my body. She loved that lupine prick more than she ever loved me. A small grunt left my lips at the pain, my sister gasping in horror as she lurched forward to try to remove his claws from me. He slapped her across the face with a second thought, her body hitting the damp ground with a resounding thump that had my heart stopping. She loved him from the very beginning. Even before she knew what love was, he sneered down at me, fury pulsing through his eyes. I could see it in her eyes, the way she would light up whenever he walked into a room. She never looked at me like that, even after I gave her the pathetic excuses for children. It's hard to love an abusive asshole, lice. Neared right back at him. I bet it was hard to love a narcissist she knew loved her title more than he ever loved his family. Your mother was a lot of things. He gripped my face, his claws shredding through my skin, but a martyr was not one of them. Don't memorialize a woman who didn't even want to protect her own flesh and blood. With those final words, both the creature and Tier vanished. My heart started pounding as a familiar sensation darted through my body. Fear, a feeling I haven't felt in a long time, coursed through my heart as I scrambled over to my baby sister. If he was playing the game I thought he was playing, we would only have a few moments before the ambushes started to come. And I honestly didn't know how many more of those creatures Tia was able to control, let alone what other monsters he had up his sleeve. Sphinx. I cooed at my sister, wincing in pain as I saw the red blooming handprint he left behind on her face. It was going to leave a bruise, a physical reminder of what our father did to her on this day. Sphinx. I gently sat her up as much as I could. I need you to wake up for me. Her small whimpered groan equally pained me as it did assured me that she was still alive and breathing. Nyx, she whispered, her eyes still closed. Please tell me that this was all a nightmare. That I'm still back at school and away from that monster. I'm sorry. I gripped her hand tightly in my own. I'm so fucking sorry I let him get to you, Sphinx. I'm so fucking sorry I called and protect you more, baby sister. Her eyes blinked open as she regained her bearings of our situation. Where did he go? HES still here, I said, backing away slightly as she sat up. It's all part of his sick game. What game? I inhaled a game he likes to play to remind me that he'll always find a way to get what he wants. And what does he want? I looked at her then, and knew without a doubt that my next words would not come as a shock to her if the knowing look in her eyes was anything to go by. He wants us dead, I said. I said now that he has this newfound tower. Whatever the fuck it is. He doesn't want us to try and take it from him. He doesn't want us to take his title. I take it by the way you're acting. You've been in a situation like this before. I looked away, my jaw clenching as I nodded. The hiss of skin on metal pulled my attention back to her. I attempted to shoo her away, not wanting any more damage to come to her, when she suddenly gripped my hands. How long? What? How long has he been doing this to you? She demanded to know, anger lighting up those blue eyes of hers. How long has this torture been going on? As soon as I get these chains off of me, they'll create distractions that should draw attention my way. I ignored her questions. Once that happens, I want you to find a way out and run as fast and far away from Crescent Academy as you can. Don't go back to school, and certainly don't go to one of our estates. I've left an envelope for you. She was careful to avoid the gashes on my face as she griped it, stopping me rant. How long, Phoenix? Her eyes dark. I want to know how long he's been doing this to you. It doesn't matter, Sphinx. I firmly, what's done is done. I'm really just focused on getting you out of here in one piece. It matters to me, Phoenix, she said, a calculating glint in her eyes, because when I kill him, I want to know how long I'm going to torture him before ending his pathetic excuse of a life. I stilled at the absolute venom behind her words, at the cruelness I've ever experienced from my sweet and fun-loving baby sister. I often joked that she was made from butterflies and sunshine, with the constant exuberance that exuded from her on a daily basis, the entire reason for my existence being to protect that innocence of her, that good in her that reminded me so much like our mom. So to hear her say something like that, and to watch as the darkness that is our father slowly start to taint her innocent soul, made me feel like a fucking failure. Promise me you'll always take care of your sister, Phoenix. My mother smiled softly down at me as she ran a hand through my hair, her blue eyes turning back towards my sister as her little chunky toddler legs wobbled around our yard. Chasing a butterfly. Promise me that when I'm gone, you'll always look out for her, that you'll always protect her from the bad things of this world. I failed my mom. I failed my sister. And I fucking failed my mate too. All the women in my life have suffered because of my failure. I was snapped out of my inner toil when the building started shaking. No, it was rumbling and groaning. This was new, which had me thinking that whatever was coming our way was really bad. Break my right hand, I told my sister suddenly, which had her snapping her attention to me. What? Break my right hand, I repeated. It's my dominant hand, and I think there's enough room for me to squeeze it through the chains. Are you out of your mind? She squawked at me. Those wounds of yours are barely healing as it is, and if I break your hand, you'll only have one left. How is that going to help us get out of here? It'll give us a chance, I said, yanking on my chains. I didn't want it to come down to this option, but it's the only one we got left. Like you said, my wounds are barely healing and I'm bleeding out. It's better to try and escape than just wait here like sitting ducks and let those fucking things kill us. But there was no more time for hesitation. Break my fucking hand. Sphinx basked it. I ordered. Break it right fucking now. Her eyes glowed as her wolf struggled with an alpha heir's demands, while she was an heir in her own right. My sister's wolf was nowhere as powerful as mine, being as my wolf is older and more dominant than hers. I hate you, brother, my sister growled out, her wolf following through with them command, even though the human part of her didn't want to. I'll never forgive you, Phoenix. I muffled my howl of pain as all 27 bones in my hand crunched under her fingers. Before I could think, she yanked on the chain in my broken hand and immediately spilled through the opening. Thank work, she snarked at me, but how are we going to get all the other chains off you? We're not. Her head reared back. What do you mean? It took me a second to recognize this place. I said, either because HE's blocking my senses somehow, or because I've never been in this area before, but when the earth shook, I smelled a familiar smell that could only be associated with one place. Where? The Colosseum, I said, using my free arm, momentum, and a little physics to move in a way that had the chains snapping from their hooks around my ankles. I pulled a little more and the chain around my left hand snapped as well. HES brought me back to where it all started. Here. Her eyes bright, and when I was finally free of my restraints, why here? I ushered her down the hall, cursing when I realized I walked us into a dead end. My first kill was here, I told her, flinching when she inhaled a sharp breath. The sick fuck is giving me his version of a poetic justice. How old were you? I kept silent. Next she gripped my arm. I need to know why. I shot back, gripping her wrist and pulling her down the hall faster like I said before. It doesn't matter when it started. All that matters is that you were safe from him after Mom died. Her face paling made me realize my mistake too late. 20 years. She whispered, her eyes darting back and forth as she did the mental math. You must have been what? 6, 7. Horror lined her tone, which in me coming to a stop. Even though that was the last thing I wanted to do when I knew we're being hunted. Okay, yes, I gripped her shoulders. He started when I was 6.5 and hasn't let up a day since then. It got better when I came here, though. He called and summoned me as much nor could explain to the others why his heir was coming up with unexplained cuts and bruises. I did what needed to be done in order to protect you. You heard him. He really only ever needed one of us, and I wasn't even going to let you experience what I did. Why didn't he just kill me then? She whispered, it seems like it would have turned out better for you if I was in the picture. No, I barked at her as my anger flared and gently shook her. You do not get to say that. You do not get to fall into that pit right now. Not now and not ever. I have never regret that choice. I will never regret that choice. What stopped him from killing me? She looked at me. Her jaw clenched. Why didn't he? Because I threatened that if he so much as laid a single finger on your head, he'd lose both his heirs, I said simply when he decided to test that theory and found out I wasn't bluffing. He backed off. The earth roared again as footsteps sounded behind us. I felt my sister Ed stiffen as I urged her to run. She halted me once more, her eyes wide. Wait, she grabbed my wrist. I have to tell you something now. I barked as the footsteps got closer. Ed can't wait. No, she shook her head, because if that is who I think it is behind me, they won't hesitate to attack first and ask questions later. They don't know I have a brother. I reared my head back. Do they not know who you are? She bit her lip and shook her head. They aren't from our community. I narrowed my eyes. What are you telling me? My sister opened her mouth to say something, but instead let out a squeak as arms enveloped her waist from the darkness. I went to lurch forward and grab her when a cold blade was pressed against my neck, nicking my jaw. How dare you come into my home and steal our mate? The dark voice hissed in my ear. That is considered a crime in my homeland, punishable by death. The blade pressed harder against my neck, and I had no doubt that the stranger behind me was seconds away from slitting my throat open. Be high, my sister screamed. Yes, my brother. Chapter 55 Nova. The first thing I heard was nails scraping against the earth. The smell of moldy dampness and ash permeated the air, slowly awakening my exhausted consciousness. My entire body jolted in utter agony as my brain finally woke up long enough to process where I was and what was happening. I must have been passed out a while ago, because I don't know how far or long we've traveled to get here. It must have been a while, considering that the creature was about 6 feet deep into his digging, the only thing visible from his entire decayed corpse being his large wolf head. Whatever it was digging for, whatever it wanted to find, must have been really important if it diverted its course to bring me here. My bleary eyes blinked rapidly, adjusting to the complete darkness surrounding me before taking in my surroundings. I was in a room. That much was clear from the items occupying it, but farther than that I knew little else. I released a breath, lying back on the soggy floor, and looked towards the ceiling, only to be met with a sight that had me inhaling a sharp breath. Above me, the night sky was illuminated by brilliant hues of pink, purples, and turquoise, the lights almost resembling the northern lights, except for the fact that the lights were in the shape of a dome. I inhaled sharply at the realization. The equinox. I was near the equinox, the border that trapped the Fae and all their lands in on themselves. Why would the creature drag me here out of all places? According to all the journal I picked up from the library, and the lectures the professors taught in class, the area surrounding the equinox was uninhabitable due to the distinct power and fluxes that radiated from it throughout the day. Because the Fae were the only ones capable of wielding old, pure magic, the magic that the Fire Royals relinquished to the equinox in order to keep it whole. The radiation would be harmful to any other supernatural being or faction that tried to inhabit the land, which led me to believe one thing: I was going to die. It was just a matter of what was going to kill me first. The Fire magic or the creature in front of me. I sat up gently, willing the nausea that arose away and wincing as the wounds on my leg and in my shoulder throbbed, the warmth of blood pooling underneath me soaking through my jeans. The creature's head snapped towards me at the sounds of the creaking floorboards, a growl rising from low in his throat. I froze as we just stared at each other for a few minutes, his icy eyes sweeping across my face almost knowingly. This look, the one he was currently giving me, was so different from the one I've seen him wearing while he was chasing me and the others. And while there was still a deep-seated savagery in their depths, it was shrouded by an air of intelligence that I didn't suspect a monster of its caliber was capable of possessing. Without taking its eyes off of me, the creature unhinged his jaw and haunch head low. My heart stuttered to a stop as my eyes immediately shut closed. This was it. This was finally how I was going to die. When nothing happened after a few moments, and I didn't feel the sharp sting of fangs piercing through my skin, I opened my eyes and immediately tensed. The creature was sitting a few feet away, its hulking frame completely stock still as it loomed over me with a metal tin hanging from its mouth. As soon as it realized that it had my attention, the creature unhinged his jaw and dropped the tin. Rattling sounded as the tin landed in between us, the creature letting out a small growl as he looked from me to the tin and then back again. With trembling hands, I reached for the tin and opened it, keeping an eye on the creature as I did so. The contents inside made my heart drop in as gently as I could. I dusted off a few specks of dirt and dust from a familiar-looking picture. A picture that I've looked at probably a million times over the last 2 days. And while the man holding the ultrasound with a proud smile was nothing new, the woman standing next to him wearing a similar beaming smile definitely was. My breath caught. Is he? We look just alike. My mother. My real mother. My breath caught as I gazed down at her for the first time, my eyes tracing over every inch of her tiny frame. She was small, way smaller than either mine or Wolf Vestal statues, with long hair that was so dark that it looked like it had blue mixed into it, the color of a raven feather. And although our heights were different, our features were similar that we even had light freckles dusting across our noses in the exact same place. The only other thing different about us were our eyes. And while she did have blue eyes, hers more of a surly and blue, ours weren't the same. I inherited Wolf Lupina's glacial eyes. I flipped over the picture and traced the words written on the back. Wolf, no Lonnie, and little Nova LT3 my parents. These were my parents, my birth parents, both of them together in this picture. The creature growled once more and I lifted my eyes from the photos to look at him. He inclined his head, motioning for me to keep going. I shuffled to the next photo. This one of my mother sketching a familiar scene on a window in the Lupine mansion. Her grinning face smeared with different colors of paint as she posed for the photo. The next photo had sorrow slithering its way up my chest, tightening its fist around my heart as I continued to gaze down at the photo. My eyes slid from the wolf in the photo to the creature, because, besides from the obvious deformities of the creature in front of me, I couldn't deny that the fact that the wolf from the photo was the creature sitting in front of me. And when I turned the photo over to confirm my suspicions, a heartbreaking sob left my lips before I could stop it. Wolf showing off in Wolf Form Chapter 56 The Dark Prince. I paced my library and watched in utter helplessness as Phi after Phi started to surround the charred cabin that currently housed my mate and her father's dead wolf, judging by the glowing eyes of the air elemental. I knew that he was masking the onslaught of sounds with his power, which meant that my mate was going to die if I couldn't intervene soon. My eyes snapped to the chronometer, noting that I had approximately 30 minutes before the damn gate was weak enough for me to pass through it. My eyes snapped back to the screen as a small squeal sounded out, my visuals immediately blacking out as the creature I sent to monitor the situation was maimed by the last person I expected to see in the wolf realm. Helios, the familiar voiced cooed, his face filling the screen as he held my creature in his hand. How long has it been? Alpi sneered at him. How unfortunate. Don't be like that little prince. The man who I once considered a father figure stared smugly at me through my shadow creature's eyes, his own gleaming eyes reminding me just how much of a snake he really was. I truly do miss you. The courts aren't just the same without your spirited presence. I gritted my teeth. What are you doing, ALBH? Whatever do you mean? His fake innocence irked me to no ends. You are many things, ALBH, I sneered, a liar and a snake. Sure, but an idiot you are not. What are you doing in the shifter lands? You always could see through me, little prince. He sighed drastically. I guess now is the time for me to divulge my evil plan. Isn't it? I cocked my head to the side, confusion marring my features at his words. What? Instead of answering me, he incinerated my shadow creature without a hint of warn, causing me to wince as I felt the entity's pain. Son of OS. Based on the time on the chronometer, I still had 15 minutes trapped in this fucking prison of mine before I could save my mate. The only problem was that he was much closer to her than I, without doubt, that if they sent him, the man they called the Knight's Blade, then he was going to kill her, and it was going to be a swift death by any means. The sick bastard was going to prolong her suffering until her sweet body gave out. I mean, why wouldn't he want her to suffer? After all, her mother did reject their decades-long engagement when she ran off and mate with Last Lupine. Nova, I raised my trembling hand to the head of the creature. My father, tears blurring my eyes as he nuzzled said head into my hand, a low whine rising in his throat. You're really him, I whispered, pushing away the dirty moss and a few layers of decaying fur. You're really my father. He just blinked at me, that whine getting even more higher in pitch. But you tried to kill me, I said, and you tried to kill my friends, my fellow heirs. Ah, a new voice cooed from a darkened corner of the room. You really can't blame him. He was just following orders. I whirled, trying to see the newcomer, when the large body of my father's wolf blocked my entire view. I should have known you've come back here. The Mantis schedule creations are so predictable, always coming back to the scene of your own deaths. The next growl my father let out was menacing enough for goosebumps to rise on my arms. The man stepped forward, enough light shining from the equinox to illuminate his stunning features. He was an older man, probably around my parents' age, with long hair the color of wheat that was neatly and intricately braided on the sides. His brown eyes were smiling on the outside, but if you looked close enough, they were dull and dead-looking, just like a doll. The outfit he was wearing reminded me of something you defined in a Shakespeare or Renaissance fair. But besides the ridiculous outfit, the only thing that stood out to me was his ears. They were high and pointed and so unlike anything I've seen before except for in fantasy series. He was like the ones I read in that book from the library. Who are you? My friends call me Knight. He smiled at me. Was one of your mother's friends. My father let out another growl at the mention of my mother, affirming my initial gut reaction that the man in front of me wasn't a friend of any kind, to neither me nor my family. That's great and all, I deadpanned, but I don't give a fuck who you were friends with. What are you doing here? The man chuckled. You have the same fiery spirit as your mother. My father lunged forward and the man's expression changed, becoming more menacing as his eyes flashed a brilliant tawny color. Suddenly my father let out an ear-piercing screech. You know, the horrible one the animals let out when they're injured or attacked by a predator. I lurched forward as my father slumped to the ground, convulsing on his side as his body hit the floor. What are you doing to him? I screamed, my hands hovering over his body as he recoiled away from me. Stop it. You're hurting him. He can't feel anything. The man waved his hand. The dead never do. Are you fucking blind? I yelled, HS clearly in pain. You fucking psycho. The man cocked his head to the side. And you care because? My eyes wide, and why wouldn't I care? The Phi just stared at me. Maybe you're not so like your mother after all. A group of footsteps sounded behind me and my heart leapt in my throat. The guys. They found me. They came for me. I turned and that little hope inside my heart shriveled up and died when I saw more Phi, dressed similarly like the man, start to surround the entirety of the room. Sir, once of the men addressed him. Ignoring my presence, we have 5 minutes before the equinox concludes and we're forced to retreat. The man smiled, showing off his straight white teeth. I only need to. He approached me, hands outstretched and a manic smile on his face. with surprising strength I didn't think he could possess any longer. My father leapt up and tackled the fine man, snarling in rage as he took a chunk out of his shoulder. "Dad," I sprang forward but was immediately grabbed by 3 warriors. "Let go of me. Let go of me. You oversized fireflies." I watched in horror as claws and fists were thrown as the fine man and my father tangled with each other. Remarkably, my father was able to keep up with the Fi, dodging his attack with swiftness that he never would have suspected considering the fact that he was just writhing on the floor 2 seconds ago. "Enough," the Fi said, thrusting his hands into my father's rib cage and ripping out something that resembled a heart. And I say resembled a heart because the thing the night man held in his hand was not something they taught us in anatomy class. It was the shape of a heart, but there were large chunks missing. But instead of those chunks remaining empty, they were filled with gears and wrapped around some kind of glowing orb. My father twitched once before stilling, making me let out a muffled cry. "Stupid," the knight muttered, spitting on my father's dead corpse. "I knew you'd be more trouble than you were worth." I stared at my father's lifeless body, silent tears streaming down my face at thought of finally finding my father only for him to be taken away from me again in a blink of an eye. 2 bloody fingers went underneath my chin, redirecting my attention to callous brown eyes. "He wasn't worth your tears, princess." He wiped away my tears with his blood-soaked hand. "He wasn't even your father." My eyes snapped to his what? I croaked. "I mean, technically he was the knight hummed well. The human part of him was anyways, which has been gone for a long while. But the wolf. The wolves are always the hardest to get rid of no matter how hard we try." He let out a humorless laugh that coiled around my heart. "The worst is when they have pups. It seems like that one little blood bond to them more disobedient than usual. If he was such a nuisance for you, then why go through all that trouble of bringing him back from the dead?" I whispered. "Why interrupt his peace? You really don't know, do you?" he asked, his eyes searching mine. "You have no idea who or what you truly are." "I know who I am," I said, meeting his eyes unflinching. "I am the daughter of one of the most powerful alpha heirs in the world." "Oh, princess." His hand wrapped around my throat before I could even realize what was happening. "You are so much more than that." His hand gradually started to tighten around my neck, and no matter how hard I tried to move or flinch away from his grasp, he never once let go. "I know you saw the pictures," he murmured. "No, Lonnie had a set of duplicates hidden underneath a false drawer of hers back at the palace. I found them the day she decided to call off her engagement and run away from her responsibilities." I was only able to croak out one word: "Palace." "Yes, palace," he said, a wicked grin erupting on his ethereal face. "And while you may be the daughter of an alpha mutt, the title is infinitesimal compared to that of a Fi queen." My eyes widened. "That's right, little princess," he sneered down at me. "Mommy dearest was destined to be our next centennial queen, a title that you now inherit since you were her only heir." Little dark spots began to color my vision, and my lungs were slowly burning for air. "Queen," I choked out. "That's why Papa Wolf over there was so crucial to our operation," he explained. "Blood hunts blood. We needed him to find you. We figured out about your existence after you'd already disappeared from the supernatural realms. We knew that in order to find you, our only option was to use him. We just didn't anticipate that your mother would have enough power left in her body to bind your powers and ship you off to the one realm we had no access to beyond the veil." Although he was barely a breath's width away from me, I couldn't focus on anything he was saying. My entire body was numb as I continued to stare at the lifeless corpse of the wolf who belonged to my father. The last piece. The last connection I ever had to my biological parents, once again being ripped away from me without a second thought. Sir, someone choked out the room. A breath escaped me and I couldn't help but notice the condensation that arose from that one simple gesture. Goosebumps raced down my arms as a chill filled the air, making those around me stand stock still. The night's eyes widened, chest urging. The suffocating feeling around my neck disappeared as a burst of energy shot forward and engulfed the entire room in silver light, creating equal parts chaos and solace as the Fi were thrown away from me in an instant. I cowed and helped but watch in horror as I completely engulfed the Fi warriors, their horrific expressions forever encapsulated in their purse and Lycie prisons. The entire cabin, from ceiling to floor and everything in between, was covered in thick glacial ice, and whatever it was that caused it somehow spared me. I should have known. A low voice hissed, making me whirl around and find the knight glaring at me. Of course you'd have her powers too. His body was completely encased in ice, all except for a little portion that didn't reach his mouth, nose, or eyes. Slowly, almost imperceptible, the ice started to melt away from his, the water slowly trailing down his face. And to think I was going to give you a swift and merciful death. He sneered at me. Though you were, I remarked, men like you don't make it easy for women they fear. With those final words, I turned and rushed out of the cabin as quickly as I could. I was going to waste a gifted opportunity when it presented itself, because from the way the ice was melting quicker and quicker, it wouldn't be long before he was freed from whatever force that was trapping him in it. Of course you'd have her powers too. I cowled and stopped thinking about his words because there was no way that I could do that. I was normal. Well, normal-ish. And didn't even have a wolf, let alone these so-called powers he was talking about. Howls sounded out and I ran faster, cursing myself for not taking up those extra cardio sessions Atlas offered me when I had the chance. Shouts mixed with the howls, as both sounds came closer and closer to where I was headed. I ducked as something whirled past and embedded itself in the tree that I just ran past. My eyes wide, and as I realized it was a giant fucking dagger, its hilt encrusted with little symbols and small gem-sized crystals. More shouts and howls encompassed me from both sides this time, making me alter my course yet again. Shit. 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 I remember this tactic from Coach's course. They were corralling me to where they wanted me, and if I remembered, I was heading towards the Phi border. Quadruple shit. They were once again taking away my choices, forcing me to either surrender or die at their hands. You can run, princess. The knight's familiar voice rang out, but you can never hide from me or my creatures. The growls were close enough that I swear I could feel a warm breath across the nape of my neck. I diverted left, and was a couple 100 yards away from the Phi door when suddenly, a large figure blocked my path. I was forced to retreat and turn back to where I came from. I was almost home free, or so I thought, until a large creature blocked my path on the side too. Slowly, ever so slowly, they began to converge closer and closer until the only choice I had was to turn my back to the shimmery border door. A third figure appeared, the first figure and the creature flanking the newcomer's side. He was soaking wet, wearing a pissed-off expression on his face as he gazed at me with contempt and maliciousness. Like I said, princess, he sneered at me. There's no place in this world where you can hide from me. Before I had a chance to speak. Hell, before I had a chance to even react or move. Large, unfamiliar arms wrapped tightly around my waist and pulled me hard enough that I fell through the portal, and into a life that will never be the same again. Epilogue 19 years ago, Wolf POV. Come on, baby, I squeezed my pregnant mate's hand a little tighter, just a little bit farther. We're almost at our special place. Wolf. Nolani canted out a pained whimper. Wolf. I think Shess coming. My eyes widened as I turned and quickly picked up my body automatically moving and running even faster through these woods at her words. My daughter barely turned 24 weeks old yesterday, and while I knew that it was impossible for infants to survive out of the womb this early on in pregnancy, the tension leading up to this moment, as well as the added stress of tonight's attack, would not be without consequences on my two girls. Hold on, baby, I kissed the side of her head. It'll get us there soon, and both you and baby girl will be just fine. That's not all, Wolf, my mate whispered, her voice shaking as she held up a bloody palm. One of them managed to hit me. I swore loudly, something I rarely did in the presence of my mate, and the pounding in my heart was suddenly heard in my ears at the implication. The arrows our enemies were using were enchanted, using a special type of poison that only grew in one realm, the File Ands. It made sense for Nolan as people to be upset with her, considering she gave up her crown and untainted purebred status for a wolf shifter like me. We expected them to come. Eventually. What we didn't expect was for my people, my fellow heirs, to betray me, Tier was obvious because of his utter disdain for me since the moment we met, for some unknown reason. But to know that the others were involved with him to absolutely gutted me to my core. These were the men and women I once considered my closest friends and confidantes, the ones who I thought shared similar principles and morals as I did when it came for the good of the shifter community. It fucking hurt me to my core to know that these people, some of who I've known my entire life, gave my family and I up without batting an eye. And to know that they not only willingly sacrificed my family but also some members of their own, just for a taste of corrupted fight powers, led me to believe that I never truly knew them at all. I was snapped out of my thoughts when I felt my wife grip my bicep. Her blue ethereal eyes glowing bright as she looked straight ahead. We're not alone. My head snapped around and I couldn't mistake the shockingly brightly colored silver blonde hair no matter how hard I try. Eliza, my best friend since we were in diapers, and the true heir of the Fenrir pack, skidded to a stop on the front of us. Wolf, she cried I would have come sooner if possible, but Tier locked me in Phoenix's room and I couldn't. My wolf fled out a menacing growl at the name of her traitorous husband. I love you like a sister, Lisa. I shielded my maiden child away from her line of sight, but I won't hesitate to put you down if you're here to harm my family. Her eyes welled with tears. I would never do that to you, she whispered. Your husband would. Her eyes flashed in nothing like that monster. You might not be like him. I snarled, but you did marry and mate with him. That alone makes me question your morals and which side you truly align with. First loves makes you do stupid things, she murmured, angrily wiping a tear away as she looked away, and the unborn, innocent child makes you want to stay and attempt to work things out. Even when you know deep inside of your heart that it was never going to work and you should have left a long time ago. Another squeeze from my bicep had my head snapping down to my mate. We can't rust her, she said, looking sorrowful at the sight of my old friend. Shess not here to harm us. How do you know? Just call it a feeling or women's intuition. She kissed my bicep. We have to keep moving. I can feel them getting closer as each second passes. I looked at my best friend whose eyes were shining with regret, sadness, and a small bit of guilt. How much do you know about delivering a baby? She shot me a dry look. I practically delivered both of my children myself. Perfect, I said seriously about delivering mine. Eliza and excess, Mom. Please. Just take her, Wolf pleaded with me, his eyes glistening with unshed tears as he continued to stare down at his daughter. Give her what we couldn't. Give her a chance at a normal life. She shouldn't be persecuted just because of who her parents were. Sobs racked my body as this tiny little bloodied being was gently placed in my arms, her barely audible wails etching themselves on my already broken soul. Take her yourself, Wolf, I cried, gripping his wrist. There's still time for you to escape. I can stand. He cut me off with a gentle pat to my head, a gesture so familiar and reminiscent of our younger days that a fresh wave of tears started falling again. It's too late for me, he whispered, caressing a large finger across his daughter's tiny head. They won't stop coming for me until they're sure I'm dead. The one advantage we have is that they don't know about her. I can't condemn her to that life. He glanced at the small cabin behind us. The labored screams that once filled the air were now completely silent. I won't condemn her to that life. No, didn't want that for her. Besides, it's too late for me. He raised up his poised and ridden arm, the one that matched his mate identically. The one good thing about the curse of a true mate bond. The gods knew I couldn't live without her, so they decided it was my time to. Wolf. I whimpered and looked down to see the beautiful little girl in my arms grip onto a loose piece of my hair. She needs you. He sent me a sad smile. No, she doesn't, he said softly. She's her mother's daughter. I have no doubt she'll survive and conquer the world, just like she was born to. Shouts sounded from behind me, startling me so bad that I nearly jumped 10 feet in the air. Wolf's daughter, Lil, go. He ordered me, his icy eyes flashing go right this instant, or else Snowland's death would have been for nothing. Wolf, I panicked, reaching for his arm again. I can't do this. I can't keep her safe. I can barely keep my own children safe. You can keep her safe. He patted my head once more, the gesture feeling like a final goodbye. And do you want to know why I believe you can? Why my lips trembled? Because you're the truth and we're heir. One of the most fiercest wolves I've ever met and the best mother to 2 wonderful pups. I know you'll care for her like she was your own, he urged me forward. I'm sorry you mated with a psychotic piece of shit who cherished power over his own family. You deserved so much better, Lizzie. The shouts started getting closer and closer. I tensed, my wolf pacing anxiously and urging me to get away from danger as soon as possible. My spine straightened and I quickly dabbed my tears away. A second away from taking off when Wolf's last few words halted me. Wherever you take her, just make sure they know her name. I glanced back at him. Her name. He smiled, and for the first time in our entire lives, I watched with wide eyes as Last Lupine, one of the most powerful alphas and heirs in the world, break down in tears. And even though terror after terror streamed down his face, the sad smile he wore was still proud. No, Phoenix, he murmured lovingly, our little North Star. The only star we need to guide us together through the darkness that is death. It wasn't even 6 minutes later when a large explosion sounded from the cabin's location, thick black fumes engulfing the entire night sky. It was in that moment, that singular life-changing moment, did I know that the man I called my best friend, the one I once considered my true first love, was dead. And somehow, deep in my heart, I knew I was next. Because when Tyr finds out about my betrayal, and he always finds out, I knew he wouldn't let me live to say another day. I just hope, for the sake of children and this little bundle of life in my arms, that I get them to safety before he does.